How do I even start this video? Oh, like that. Yeah, that makes sense. The Suicide Squad is a movie I've been following ever since it was first announced, and frankly, I was nervous. I was nervous about how general audiences were going to react to a soft reboot. I was worried about how James Gunn was going to need to start from the ground up, and I was worried that the deaths in this movie weren't going to be impactful. And I was right to be worried, to an extent. Look, I watched this movie twice within 24 hours, and both times the movie left me confused how I felt about it. At least at first, but we'll get to that later. The Suicide Squad is, no doubt, a spectacle, okay? A total cinematic marvel. The colors, the gore, the cinematography, oh my god, and action, all amazing. It was like a love child between Guardians of the Galaxy, Deadpool, and Scott frickin' Pilgrim. It was perfect. Well, okay, I shouldn't say perfect, because at certain points it began to feel like, and I know this is overused, like they were putting style over substance. Or should I say beautiful style? Style I could literally look at all day, along with a dose of forced substance. Does that make any sense? Okay, since the first Suicide Squad did nothing for the characters that returned, James Gunn basically had to rewrite them all from scratch, besides Harley Quinn because she's been in other movies. Not to mention, he needed to introduce like 20 new characters in this movie, so whenever we get a backstory, it feels pretty forced. Ratcatcher 2 and Bloodsport trading histories is probably one of the more natural ones, but then Polka Dot Man's one is just a little inorganic. I mean, unfortunately, there's just quite a bit of forced exposition in this film, but hey, I get it, James Gunn was doing the best that he could. And he still made an awesome movie, just one that felt undercooked at times. That's a good way to put it. I just wish this film was equal parts violent comic book spectacle and heartwarming team-up movie, but I understand why it's not. This movie is 2.5 hours, but honestly, I could totally see it being longer as long as they just put in a little more real bonding. Maybe even a few more scenes between Bloodsport and his daughter. We only saw his daughter twice. In one scene, she was yelling and swearing at him, and in the other, she's crying because of how proud she is he's her dad. Yeah, I know emotions are complicated, but it doesn't make sense to me either. Now I know that sounds like a lot of negatives in a row, but truth be told, despite its flaws, I really like this movie. I think it's a real work of art, and I feel guilty about criticizing it. So yes, sometimes I'm a little too analytical when it comes to movies, but that means that I also notice a lot of awesome things too. There is just so much in this movie to love. For example, I love the fact that Amanda Waller's staff actually affects the plot. We continued to cut back to them for quick jokes and exposition, and I expected that to be the extent of their characters. But it turns out they actually had a higher moral compass than Waller herself and actually saved the squad's lives. Having the powerless, everyday, random people coming back in the end of the movie to save the heroes? That's awesome. It's like something straight out of the Raimi trilogy. I truly love moments like this. I also wrote a pretty lengthy segment just about how Harley Quinn was consistent with her other appearances in the DCEU, but you know what, I'm gonna save that for another video and another time. All you need to know about her is that she's a really good character. So is everybody in this film. Like Ratcatcher 2, I loved everything about her, especially how she perceived her father. That flashback, it'll just rip your heart out, trust me. Or King Shark's subplot of being left behind and being lonely the entire movie, just trying to make new friends. They even went back on the military brat, buzz cut, oh, you don't want to get killed by her sword, kind of type beat for Rick Flag, and actually wrote him as a kind, charismatic leader of the Suicide Squad, and it made it even sadder when he died. I really didn't expect them to do that. Every character is honestly done nearly perfectly, and I'm in love with the core team we ended up with. However, David Dastmalchian as the Polka Dot Man stole the show. He might be one of my favorite characters, second only to Ratcatcher 2, and trust me, it takes you a while to figure him out, but with every line and little specific moment, you learn to love him more. Look, this film is pure excitement, but it's even better the second time. There's something about knowing how messed up it is, how no one is safe, and how truly bizarre it is that adds to the whole experience. If you've seen this film and weren't into it, watch it again. Overall, if I could give scores based purely on enjoyment, The Suicide Squad would get a 7 out of 7, but I know in my heart it's not perfect. I give The Suicide Squad a 6 out of 7. Not a big difference, but between the pacing and the rushed characters, I'd be lying to myself if I rated it any higher. but you also need to keep in mind that a lot of those issues come from the film simply being ambitious, which is not a bad thing. I mean, come on people. A shark, a clown, a rat whisperer, a cruddy Captain America, an insane freak with mommy issues, and a soldier who's a terrible father all band together to fight a massive, walking, alien starfish, all while being tricked by the American government trying to cover up their dirty little secrets. That's amazing. The Suicide Squad is pure creativity. I don't care how the critics are reacting or the fact that this movie might have some real issues. I wouldn't have it any other way. Also, I thought John Cena was going to be in this movie. I heard that. I don't know where, but I heard that. And I didn't see him anywhere. I'm not sure if his scenes got cut or if I just missed his cameo, but it was weird. God, this video sucked.